Okay, we're live. So I'm starting this stream a bit early because I didn't schedule it like I usually do. Just been so distracted. So yeah, since I didn't schedule it, I'm starting. What? Now live on your channel. YouTube just sent me an email to say that I'm live on my own channel? What? Now live on your channel. I'm back live. Since when is this a thing? My goodness, YouTube, you are so crazy sometimes. Maybe that's because I didn't schedule it. Maybe that's one way that they're trying to tell people. But why would they tell me about going live on my own channel? That's bizarre. Jeez, like as if I don't know that I'm live on my own channel. Oh, YouTube, you're so crazy. But yeah, so I've started a little bit early just because I didn't schedule it. So I figure I'll give people a couple minutes to get here before I start rambling away. And I've also got my tea, so oh dear, yeah. Yeah, I think because I was sick and just trying to catch up on everything. Oh, that's why I didn't schedule it. I just usually I make the little card thing and then I have to like set everything up on YouTube and I just didn't get around to it yesterday and I realized as I was going to bed, oh my god, I haven't scheduled it. And I didn't have time this morning, so I had to run off to bonsai. And this afternoon when I got back, I was replying to an email and also like talking to mum. And so I just didn't have time to even set up a quick schedule. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. And yeah, so we'll wait at least until 8 before I really get going. But also I've got this tea, so. Oh, is there someone already here watching? Hello. You can write in the chat. You know, we can just talk, just us if you like, since the I don't even know if anyone will turn up. I did put in the community tab I'm going to be streaming, but yeah, I don't know how many people will actually because I didn't set up the stream, and I think that usually sends reminders to people, but I'm not really sure how it all works. Dear oh dear. Or if you just want to be quiet and watch me like talk to myself, we can do that too. Yeah. All right. So it's 8 o'clock Sydney time. Just like it's been so busy catching up. You know, I was sick last week, so I was in bed for the first half of the week and then not very functional for the rest of the week, but sort of having weird disrupted sleep. And then, like with work, I'm trying to catch up on all the work stuff I need to do, particularly work from home. So yeah, just, so busy. And then today I had bonsai. So I also did the Monday shift. So that helped because I missed last week's one. Yeah. Oh, it was so busy today as well because I think they've got there's like a film crew coming maybe tomorrow. And so we were trying to tidy up the nursery and, it just sort of shifted the plans a lot. And, I was originally like making new fig bonsai because they're really hardy. They're quite popular. And my boss likes the way I do like little rock settings, like a landscape bonsai. So, yeah, we did a bit of that. But then when my sensei also arrived, she wanted me to go out into the nursery and tidy up some of the benches and do some weeding and fix up some of the starter plants as well, because some of them had grown so much. It's just like, it's endless, plants are constantly growing. So there's always something to do. Like I've never gone to work and been like, so what are we doing? There's always something. And it's kind of fun that way, like, plants, because they're always growing. I don't know, and like the problem solving aspect is fun because like it's a bit different to other art forms. Like if you're painting, you have a canvas, you have your art, your paints, and it's kind of hello, Hopi. What's he doing? What are you doing? Are you gonna sit on the bed? You can come here. You can come say hello to everyone. No, he's gonna run away. Oh no, I scared my dog away. Hopi, come back. No, I think I've put him off. Oh, well. He's probably like, what are you doing? What are you trying to... Oh, no, you're back. Hey, Hopi. You're a good boy. You want to say hello to everyone? Come on. You don't want it? Ah, no, he doesn't want to be picked up. That's all right. I won't pick you up. You can just do whatever you want. oh, oh my gosh, Hopi. Hmm? You gonna go up on the bed? Yeah? I don't know. But yeah, no, compared to other art forms, right? So when you're painting, you have your canvas or whatever, and your paints and whatever. And if you're doing that sort of standard thing, nothing really changes. Like your subject matter changes, but you know how your art materials are going to work. Assuming like you're a reasonably good artist and you've been doing that kind of stuff. Like, you know, if you're more like me and it's kind of a casual thing, sometimes like you're trying to paint something and you're like, yeah, that's not how I meant it to be. And then I spend hours trying to fix the mistake. And eventually it looks good, but like I'm not a fast painter and I'm not a relaxed painter. I find it stressful. But with bonsai, right, like each tree is different. And so when you're trying to actually make them into bonsai for the first time, you know, you've got to sort of problem solve, like where's the front of the tree, what angle suits it, what style, like, and, you know, if I'm making a landscape setting, which I often do with the figs, is like, you know, what rock will look nice? Should I put some mondo grass in there? Well, the positioning, the balance of the composition and all that. Yeah, you're sort of like the tree is a living thing. So you're sort of talking to it in a way and sort of figuring out like what looks best for you. And I think I like that. Like it puts some limitations on what you're doing. I think one of the things I struggle with art is like if I don't have constraints, I can be a bit paralyzed. Whereas if there are clear constraints, then I go into problem solving mode and come up with something interesting. Yeah, but if you just sit here and like be like you just tell me go make some art, you can make anything. I'd be sitting like shit. What should I make? I don't know. Yeah, but if you say you have to make art using these specific materials and blah blah blah, I'm probably more likely to get something done, I think. Anyway, so it was just very busy. I spent a lot of time outside in the nursery, and today was a cooler day, but there was still a bit of sun, so I did get a bit hot out there, and because I was sort of outdoorsy in the sun instead of in the studio area, I didn't want to get sunburned, but I also didn't want to put sun cream on. It's like I had a hat, but I also had my jumper on most of the day. There was like one point in the middle where, like, you know, in the middle of the day when it's really hot, where I took it off. But I knew that was just before lunch, so I wouldn't be out there long enough to really get sunburned, especially with like the clouds coming in and out. Yeah, but I got very hot in my determination to just wear the jumper to avoid sunburn. And then like towards the end of the day, they had to put the sprinklers on. So I went back in and did some more fig bonsai. Yeah, it's just so busy. There's always something to do. I also talked to some customers while I was out there. And yeah, no, it's compared to standard retail, I definitely prefer this sort of thing. Like I'm not really involved in the retail side so much. I'm more working actually with the plants. But yeah, occasionally I do interact with the customers. And like when you're actually talking about the bonsai and working out what their needs are for bonsai, because, you know, some people are good at plants, some people not so much. So like, do you want a beginner or advanced? And then some have a particular budget in mind. Sometimes it's a gift, so they want to get something fancier. Yeah, and, you know, I go into retail mode, which I can't do on camera because YouTube me is not the same as retail me, but I go into my retail mode and, you know, the way I talk to customers and stuff. And yeah, no, it's good. And like, you know, some of the customers are like really into things. And so those ones are fun because like we're both excited about bonsai. And it's always fun to see which trees a customer picks because, you know, like especially, I don't think I've served a customer who's actually bought one of my bonsai. Usually when people buy mine, I'm just not there. But we did actually have one of mine come back for maintenance. So it was really good to see that someone actually took good care of one of the bonsai that I made. Because, you know, sometimes people buy a bonsai and then they don't look after it and, you know, they don't last. But when the customers take good care of it, that's cool because, you know, it keeps going. The thing that I made, it lives on. Yeah, so that's basically my day. And then, yeah, no, there's so much stuff going on. I'm trying to keep track of it all. Um, and then coming home, I had an email that I felt I had to answer in some detail. So I was doing that. And I talked to mum about my day because there were some things that she'd be interested in. But yeah, no, right. Answering this email probably took the longest. So yeah, I haven't even checked Facebook yet. And I know I've got a couple of messages. I just quickly had a look to see how much. So there's like 2 messages and 9 notifications. Probably most of the notifications are from like groups I admin. So I help admin a group that helps bands find gigs and venues find bands to bring onto gigs, which hasn't been as active, but it's sort of slowly picking up as restrictions continue to ease and more of the music industry slowly starts ramping up. And then the other 2 more active groups that I help admin are both band member groups. So bands looking for band members and individual musicians looking to join bands. I haven't been doing those quite as long as the other one. And they're both very active. So there's always something to do. But yeah, probably most of the notifications I've got are from that. But then there'll probably be a few from friends that I should have a look at. But just didn't get a chance to. Because busy answering emails. So the email I was answering is related to a band that is interested in me as a vocalist, and so talking about I guess like where we're at in terms of what we're looking for in bands, and also like with my voice. Some of the stuff that they were wanting me to do is just not really suitable for me. And so like I sort of asked, is that what you want in a vocalist? Because that's not me. And they've come back and said, oh no, it's just, something that we were thinking of. But, if there's something that's better for you, we can do it. And so I love that they're being flexible like that. So that's a positive sign. Also, communication's good, which is really important to me. I've rambled about in the past. But yeah, and so because they were sort of interested in my voice, like how my voice actually works, I did, in a little section saying you don't have to read this if you don't want to, but talking about how my voice works. And so that took some time, and that's why I haven't had a chance to check anything. It's basically come home, talk to mum, respond to email, have dinner, and YouTube. But yeah, I didn't. I really need to make sure I schedule things. But yeah, being sick last week and just not thinking about stuff, and then just being busy trying to catch up on my life. All right, so what else is happening? Yeah, so I haven't been sleeping great. I think it's because, I did spend so much of last week in bed. I suppose that maybe the Dimetapp could be throwing my sleep cycle off, but I don't know. I keep waking up early, like earlier than when the family wakes up. So it's not that they've woken me, it's that I've just randomly woken up. And so last night, 2 things. The first thing is I woke up and like my hands had gone numb. And this, I do get a little bit of this sometimes where, usually it's only one hand at a time, or like maybe my foot goes a little bit numb and I just have to move it a little bit and the feeling comes back. But this time was both hands, and it was just like kind of a bit freaky. So I mean, I've been to like massages before, and the massage people are always like, yeah, you've got bad circulation, and I wonder if this is what they're talking about. But also I have low blood pressure, so I wonder if that factors into it. But yeah, so last night I wake up and my hands just have no feeling in them, and so I have to like usually move, but I was actually trying to like pump my hands like that to try and get the blood back into it. Hey, we really have to do this thing. I don't even know why that even became popular. Like, it's just like, or you're supposed to. I don't get that anyway. No, I'm just talking about my losing feeling in my hands last night. Waking up in the middle of the night, which happens sometimes, and then I have to, yeah, get the blood back into my hands so I can get more feeling again. Except it was both hands, and so I thought I'll do a double pump, and that seemed to work faster than just going like that. Um, and yeah, you too? Okay, because yeah, my doctor said, like, it's nothing to worry about, like, the last time I raised it. Having two hands go is a little bit scary. Hello! Hello, everyone's turning up. I'm sorry I didn't schedule. I've sort of gone on a ramble at the start about that, but yeah, just busy, sick, followed by busy, busy because sick. Just trying to catch up on life. But yeah, no, with the hands going numb thing, my doctor said it's fine. It's just like I get a little bit nervous because I mean, if I'm losing feeling in my hands, it's because like I assume because there's not enough oxygen to my hands, and so the feeling goes. Or like not enough blood, but I assume that's mainly an oxygen thing. And I just like I get paranoid that one day I'll wake up and like my hands will be dead and I'll have to chop them off, or like my feet or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's an okay thing. It's just something like I get nervous about. I'm way too old to be nervous when something goes. Oh, I'm just like thinking, yeah. So there's my hands and my feet that might go numb, but then there's also my soul. I compress my nerves at night by lying on my elbows, and I get that. Huh? Yeah. It does seem to be if like sometimes if I sleep at an angle, it'll happen. But I'm pretty sure last night I was just sleeping like flat, like I wasn't leaning on anything, and my hands just lost feeling. One less spot to ache. Oh my god. I suppose that's one way to look at it, but like, my hands are important. I do things with my hands, like, scrolling through endless Facebook, which actually isn't that important now that I think of it. But like, oh dear. But so that's the first thing that happened last night. The second thing that happened is I had a dream, nightmare or dream, I don't know. I just like of being in a maths exam. I haven't had any school related dreams in a long time. But this one, like, had some of the girls who were in my maths class. The nerve one, though, is your funny bone, and it's half the hand, last two fingers. Okay. I wonder if I've had that. I don't quite remember because, like, I was just like, my hand's numb rather than which specific fingers. But now that you mention it, I'm like, oh, maybe I have had that. But yeah, sometimes I think just like I'm asleep and, your body slows down and I'm not even sleeping at an odd angle. Like I could even just be on my back. And yeah, I lose the feeling in some of my limbs sometimes. But yeah, no, this dream last night, I was in a maths exam. And like, so for background, like in high school, skinny arms does it. I'm pretty skinny. And then the low blood pressure. Yeah. I just like, I suppose I can talk to my doctor again, but she'll probably just say it's nothing to worry about. I must come across as kind of paranoid sometimes. But then again, I do score highly for anxiety, and maybe that's how it comes out on me. Instead of being disorder, like so bad that I have a disorder, maybe it just comes out in all these weird little concerns that I have. Anyway, yeah, no, this so in high school I did 4-unit maths, which in New South Wales at least is like the highest level of maths you can do in the last years of school. And that was like, yeah, that was my top subject, I think. And I was top of the class and all that. So in this dream, I'm in this maths exam and I'm like, this is fine. Maths is something I'm good at. I'll be fine. And so I start doing the exam and it's got like this answer sheet and then the questions are separate and I'm answering stuff. But then I realize or find out that I'm answering the wrong questions, and so I have to start again. But I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm good at maths. I can catch up. That's easy. But then at some point, like there's other things going on. But at some point, I'm holding a tray sort of thing that has like sand or soil in it, and there's this there's something moving in it, coming like from the it comes in from the side, and it's sort of under the thing, and then at the bottom of the tray, somehow it's poking out, and it's like how would you even hold the soil if it has all these holes that things can go in and out? But yeah, and then it comes out that way, and it's a snake, and I have to vibes, vibes. What does vibes mean? I don't know what it means, but I haven't seen that. That's is it a sticker? Ah, vibes. Ah, yay! I haven't seen a sticker in a while, like one of those fancy stickers. I wish there was like some way to. I think there is a program where when people post stickers, you can make it appear somehow in the live stream, but I haven't figured that out yet. One day I'll have to figure that out. It might be like Streamlabs or something. I don't know. Like some way that you can connect the live chat, live sticker. What is it? What do you call it? Like a super sticker, or I don't know what it's called. Super sticker. It is a super sticker. Yeah. No. There's a way to interface with it, but I haven't figured that out. I feel like that's something I should do at some point, but oh my god, trying to keep up with all the things that I gotta do. Anyway, yeah, no, so I'm in this dream, I'm holding this, I just distracted the thing, and the snake's coming out, and so I'm like, oh, you better go over there, and so like I hold the thing so that the snake can escape, and then I just go back to doing this maths exam in my dream, and I'm just like, it was very strange. And then I think it was like a 3-hour exam. Is that even a thing? Did exams go for that long in high school? I know there was some in uni that went that long that didn't need to go that long, and I always left early. But yeah, in high school, maybe, I don't know. Those super stickers can get pricey. I wonder if I can. Oh goodness. I can have a look at them for myself. Wow. Just perfect. Wow. Someone had fun with the puns on that. And there's, yeah. There's a whole bunch, hey. Yeah, anyway, so this exam, it's like a 3-hour exam. Ever catch a shiny Pokemon? I don't think so. I think only like shiny Gyarados, which is the one that you're basically guaranteed to get, right? or if we're talking Pokemon Go, I don't think so either. Trying to remember. It's been a while since I played any of that. But yeah, no. So in this stream where I'm doing this maths exam, it's a 3-hour exam, and it's getting towards the end, and I'm having to start rushing. Doesn't count. I'm having to start rushing, but I still have this confidence that I'm going to finish the exam just fine. Yeah, anyway, so that was heaps weird. They dole out so many shinies on Pokemon Go now. I'm kind of not surprised. Like, I haven't kept up with it, but I'm kind of not surprised because, like, it's the equivalent of power creep. I don't know what you call it in that context, but, like, you know, things that used to be rare become more common, and you try and get more people to stay interested, I guess, by giving them out. I'm gonna sneeze. I'm gonna sneeze over. Oh, I haven't had any Dimetap. I wonder if that's. I don't know if the Dimetap's actually working though, because I still have been needing to sneeze. As a thumbs up, you see. Yeah, hay fever has started here as well. Oh my god. I feel like it never ends for me, but no, actually most of the time if I'm taking the Dimetap, it does seem to help. I just didn't take it, like, I don't take it when I'm driving, and I suppose I could go take some, like, nowish. I haven't finished my tea yet, though. Anyway, so what math stream? What do I make of that? I don't even know. Like, why is my brain thinking about maths again? And I don't even remember what much of the maths was supposedly on the exam I was doing. But yeah, no, that was a weird time as well, because it's so different to who I am now. Like, I used to just go with what I was expected to do. Um, I wonder. I wonder if it's because, like, thinking about my creative life, but also, so on Facebook, I have some of the actors who I did Hello Scream with in 2019, and someone else I know from music, I think, realized that we know each other and made a comment, and then there's a bit of a discussion, and the actor was saying, like, how great I am or something, or was it talented, or I'm not sure, but they were talking me up, and it was really nice. Um, but at the same time, because I don't feel like an actor, and I when I used to do drama, I was very shy. And just like really struggled, never got good marks and stuff. So when people say that I'm like good at it, good at acting and stuff like that, um, like Hello Scream suited me, but I get a bit anxious if anyone asks me to do acting of any other sort. And I guess I have that whole imposter syndrome as well, because I'm like, I didn't actually realize how many people liked what I did in Hello Scream. Like, I people like say, "Oh, you did really well," and at the time, I thought they were just being nice, like, like you tell a kid, "Oh, you did really well," and they're just a kid doing kid stuff, but it makes the kid feel good. I thought it was kind of like that, but it turns out there are people who legit enjoyed my acting and thought I did a good job, and like that's so surprising for me, coming from that background of trying drama classes and really not doing well. You acted in a thing. Yes. So in 2019, there should be a video. Maybe like I'm a scare actor might be the video. So Luna Park in Sydney, they do a Halloween thing, and like they have the scare mazes, or like, I think in America they have like haunted houses and stuff. And so I was in the Yokai Japanese ghost maze, and yeah, I didn't even know I was going to get in. Like, I thought, oh, I'll go to the audition. It'll be a bit of fun. It's very intimidating because, like, there's so many good actors there. But there's also other people like me. Like, one of my friends was also there at that first audition. And so it was good to have someone else like me who's, like, not in the acting world. But yeah, I got in and it was really fun. And I actually had, like everyone gets given a character, but then there are some of us who we're swing actors, so we swing in, let someone go off for a break, and then we move to the next thing and give them a break. And so you're in lots of different sections instead of being in just one section of the maze. And that means you have to have like a sort of character thing for each one. Like, you can kind of just play one character through the things, because like you don't change costume, there's no time for that. But depending on the section, like there are different things that you have to do. And so it was kind of like, I was like, oh my God, they've given me this role where I have to play a whole bunch of different sort of characters, essentially. They might, like, I was surprised by that. I was like, oh my gosh, they must have some confidence that I can pull this off. And it went well. Most of the time I was like just screaming at people, jumping out and screaming in my heavy metal voice. But I did like come up with some fun things as well, and depending where I was. So, I mean, I'm being repetitive for people who know, but I did the welcome to the Yokai Maze bit. So that's like the one that actually has lines that I had to memorize, and we also had to cut them down. Yeah, it was so funny. Getting paid to scare people and scream at people. But so the first one, I was welcoming people to the maze. And because it got so busy, like this is before COVID, it got so busy. So we had to cut down our lines. Yeah, we had to cut down the script a bit, and so like adapting that. So it was like half improvised, which I always struggle with improvisation. But no, I actually handled it all right. And like as you get used to it, you can sort of like tell how things work. Some people are so scared though, like that I cut it really short just to get them to move, because like they were going to crash into the walls and all that. And in that first bit, it's like these rice paper walls. So I was like, oh my God, don't break anything. But yeah, no, and I like the original plan for that first room had some technical things that just weren't ready in time, so I had to adapt that and find a different way to give them a fright, which was a lot of fun. Because I would just be telling them about the maze, and then all of a sudden be like, you, and do like this, you, maybe not like that. I don't know if I did a full on growl, but I did like some kind of a growl thing, and they do like whoosh because I just looked like a girly ghost, and all of a sudden I'm roaring at them, and everyone jumps, and they're like, "Why me?" And everyone's like, "Ha ha, you." Um, yeah, so that was the welcoming one, and then the next one I did was sort of a double one. So they had this stretch wall, and as people are walking past, I stretch through, and they suddenly realize there's someone in the wall, and scream. I scream in that, and yeah, sometimes like you can't really see people in that one. Um, but you can kind of hear through it and see their shadows, and often they'd like fall backwards, and oh, so funny. And then when they come around the other corner, there's one of those drop boxes, so the box, the little hole in the wall, it drops down, and then I'd like reach out at them and scream at them. And often, like, when they're coming through a hall like that, they're expecting one of the things in the wall to drop down. So what I did is I waited for the first person, maybe one or two, to go past a little bit, because they're often the bravest as well, the ones who go at the front. So I'd wait until they'd gone a little bit past the thing and then drop it. And the people in the middle are not expecting it because they think, okay, the front people have gone past. And so they think they're safe, and then I come and get them, and then the guys at the front go like, "Whoa, what? We didn't know." So that's fun. Then after that was the mirror room, which I was filling in for Kuchisake. So I didn't have the same costume. The way that was set up is like, there's these mannequins, and she was dressed as one of the mannequins, so she could pretend to be one and then sort of jump out. But I didn't have the right costume, and they were expecting that anyway because they saw, oh, one of them's gonna move, and then I'd jump out from behind another wall, and just sort of like that one was very physical in, because I would jump out in front of the front person, and then I would jump to the side, and then I would jump back to the people who were at the back, and then I would go around one of the mannequins and chase them the rest of the way out of the room. Depends a bit how fast they're moving. But yeah, and then as they're going through where my hiding spot was, I would sort of like claw against the walls and just like follow them, and so the people at the back are like, "Oh no, she's following us." So that was a lot of fun. And then the last room in that was the toilets, because there's people are just moving over. Give me a second. I'll just drink my tea. Yeah, anyway, so that last one, the toilet block. So there's this sort of, I think it's a post-war sort of Japanese culture thing, and it's this ghost, and the idea is like she's been killed in the bathroom block by a bomb dropping during the war or something. And so apparently at Japanese high schools, people, they have this myth of like the bathroom stall being haunted, and so that was that one. And obviously I'm not dressed like a schoolgirl, I was in this kimono, and so that one I played with the most, probably because there's a bunch of different places you can hide. And early on, I would jump out from one of the bathroom stalls, and that was fun. That was early, that was like before, well, when we were all very enthusiastic, and so I would like actually bang against the door that was next to me, and I got some bruises. I think I made a video about that as well. I would get some bruises just from doing that. So like after a while I was like, okay, I probably need to chill. So I would just jump out without banging things and just scream at them. But it was kind of like, yeah, okay, fun. But some of them kind of expected it. Like, I could hear them talking as they come by, and they're like, oh, something's going to jump out from the toilets. So another thing I tried is they come out from behind this wall into the toilet area. And so I would stand in that wall behind where they were coming in, and they would be looking mainly at the toilet blocks, and they'd pass me. And depending on what the group was like, I might suddenly scream like from the corner, and they'd turn around and be like, oh no, she's over there. But often what would happen is they would come from behind this wall and be looking at the toilets, and then sort of look around the room, and then they would spot me, and I was just like sort of very quiet, and I think I was pretending to be like almost half dead, so I'd be like like acting like I needed help, or was just like this sort of corpse against the wall. And like some of them actually freaked out. Like I was very quiet and they would just jump when they saw me. So yeah, that was kind of fun. And that was the other one I did. So those were my roles in the maze. And then in the second week, I think, they started getting us swing actors out into the just the park area as like roaming actors, at least for the start, because we don't need to give anyone a break at the very start of the day, of the night. So instead, originally we would be helping out one of the other actors in the maze do the scaring, but later, yeah, they had us in the park instead. And so when we're out in the park, because it was early in the day, and in Australia, October it's not like that wintry kind of vibe. It's daylight and all that kind of stuff. So I was in the park roaming, and because it's so bright, they can see all the makeup, right? And they can see everything. And so, like, you're not scary just by being a shadow. And I thought, if I speak, that's going to give, like, it's not going to give the right impression. I'm not going to be scary enough. And also, if I scream in that context, because it's not confined, the scream isn't, like, it feels louder when it's in a more intimate environment, whereas when it's out in the open in a park, I feel like it gets lost into the air. Even though my scream is loud, I just felt like, that's not going to work. So I was dead quiet, and I would just sort of spook around like a ghost. And one of my favorite things to do is, like, when there's a group of people just talking together, I would sort of like creep up on them and try to join the group without them noticing. And then they would, then when they finally did notice, they'd all jump back. It was good fun. And that one, I got the inspiration from when I was a kid at like an amusement park. And we had a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle do something to our family. And so it was very fun. But yeah, that like, as a character, I was very quiet and just, quiet, menacing instead of active like some of the other ones. Halloween in the summer, that's awesome. I just need to blow my nose quick, and maybe I'll have some Dimetap. Like, let me just finish my tea. Yeah, so that's my story of acting. All right, let me go blow my nose. I'll be back. So I'll just bring this out here. Kids Dimetap. Oh dear, oh dear. But yeah, no. So how did we get onto the topic of acting? I don't remember. But yeah, so I did I did the acting thing. I didn't get into Hallow Scream last year, and last year was a bit weird because of COVID, and so lots of restrictions, and yeah, I was a bit iffy about it. Anyway, but yeah, and then because of COVID, they had to change what the mazes were. So I don't really know that any of them would have suited me in the same way. So yeah, that was didn't do it last year, but I guess I could audition again this year and just see how things go, especially now that things opened up again. It might be a bit more, like normal, but not quite normal. I don't know if we're ever going to get quite back to the same level of normal. I think last year they widened the corridors, and that does make it harder to scare people when the spaces are too wide. And also, oh, did I just drop out? It just had a note, but I wasn't paying attention. Anyway, yeah, no, they had to change the mazes last year for COVID. So yeah, wider corridors, and the actors and people, the people going through the maze can't be they have to stay a certain distance. Cut out for a sec. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how much you missed, so I'm sorry. Yeah. Scaring from a distance, that's difficult, because a lot of what I did, you do get closer to people, and so that wouldn't have been possible last year, and I think it would have been kind of challenging in that environment. So I don't know, but Australia's doing well with COVID, cross fingers. Um, so who knows what Halloween could be like this year? Maybe it'll be better. And before this, I didn't really do anything Halloween. Um, Being able to be in that sort of scare maze made it worthwhile for me. Otherwise, I tend not to do Halloween. Like, I wasn't brought up in that way. When I was younger, it wasn't a huge thing in Australia, and it was seen as very American. And no one in my neighborhood did it either. Whereas now, the neighborhood, like, if you put decorations on your house for Halloween, it's assumed that you also are open to trick or treating. But if the house doesn't have decorations, then they're not into it. So that's kind of how it is here. It's not a widespread thing, and it's only certain houses. And I think it might have been like maybe some of the locals, their parents. The parents of the kids who all go to the same school. I think they might have organized something like the first few times, and then it sort of caught on from there. But yeah, it was never really a big thing. And for me also, when I'm not doing bonsai, when I'm not being lazy, my fashion is more gothic. And so like I'm dressing like that the rest of the year anyway. So on Halloween, I would often wear white just to be a bit different. If I'm just wearing the same stuff I always am, it doesn't make any impact. If I go out on Halloween, people just assume I'm dressed up for Halloween rather than because that's just what I do. So, but yeah, no. I don't get to go out much in fancy clothes because there's just nowhere to go at the moment. So that's a shame. Mm. Ahoy! Ahoy! Yeah, I forgot to schedule it, didn't I? So here we are. What else is going on? I actually don't remember how we started talking about acting. So was I on a ramble? Had I already finished my previous ramble? Every day is Halloween when you're on. Just to me, it's just a thing I do. It's not Halloween, And Halloween, if it wasn't for Halloween, to me, Halloween is just like that weird thing that's tacked on as the day before some religious day, and I just don't really care. Yeah. So yeah, Halloween definitely made it more worth it for me. It's like this is an actually fun thing to do. I don't think I did anything for Halloween last year though. I got my hair done just before it, and then I had nowhere to go. So, but yeah, no, this year we'll see what happens. No, I think Halloween is Halloween on the 31st. That's how messed up my brain is right now. But I just thinking about it because at Bonsai, where I work, they're sort of gradually getting me to do more stuff. So later in the year, I'm going to be helping out with like workshops as a teaching assistant. And so I've been talking to my boss about like what days I'm available. And the one that I'm not available just happens to be Halloween. And it's not because it's Halloween. It's because 31st October. Yeah, okay, good. So I'm not going crazy. Well, not going crazier. Anyway, so I can't work on Halloween because that's the last Sunday of the month, and Mikey has a thing, and so they need the car, and so I can't work that day. Yeah, because we have 2 cars in the household, and so it's like about managing when people are using stuff. And Mikey's stuff is is it the second Sunday and the last Sunday? I don't know. It's definitely the last Sunday, and I think Halloween's on a Sunday this year. So yeah, just by coincidence, I can't work on Halloween, so I could potentially do something else fun. Yeah, Mikey's thing I think is in the morning, but that's also when the workshop is. So yeah, I could do something in the nighttime, but I don't know. I can't think of. Like, I'm very confused about what I'm supposed to do going out, what events are on, what bands I want to follow anymore. There are some bands I like that are still out there. I just haven't felt the impulse to go and see them. I think because I'm still confused about how gigs work. Like, do I have to book in? Do I have to like buy a ticket. Like some of them are free, but you still have to get a ticket to be able to go, because of like COVID numbers and stuff. And so I'm just like, I feel like while all that's a thing, it's too confusing for me as someone who's reluctant to go out, and I also don't want to get a ticket because there's always a chance that I just won't go. Like on the day, I'll be like, actually, no, I don't want to go, and so I don't want to take up that ticket when someone else might be more keen to go. And then I think is dancing allowed now? Cam, maybe you know. I know dancing is allowed at weddings, but only 30 people on the dance floor. But I don't remember if there was like, if it's allowed in gigs now to like go up the front and dance, or everyone living the introvert life now. Yeah, no, it didn't really. COVID didn't really affect me that much last year because it's just how my life is anyway. I don't think so. See, that's the thing. If I can't go up and headbang, then it's less fun for me. It all sounds so dystopian. Oh dear. Yeah. I don't know. I studied pandemic what pandemic. I studied utopia in school actually. In year 11 I did 3-unit English and we did utopia. And that was disappointing for me though, because like in year 10, my English teacher was like, when I was asking what level of English should I do, and he said, oh, definitely like advanced and extension English and all that. But he left after that year, and so we got this new teacher in, and line dancing is allowed because you can socially distance it. Dear. But yeah, no, my English teacher in year 10 was telling me to do advanced English and extension English. And then we got this other dude, and he was just no good, and no one liked him. We actually had this huge meeting where we were all saying we don't like this teacher, he's no good. His team, 30 pictures of no one dancing at a wedding at any one time. Oh, well, we're doing better than you guys over in Europe, aren't we? So, yeah, no, so when I actually got to year 11 English, I mean, a lot of it is that sort of university stuff where you're supposed to interpret it, things from like a feminist perspective or whatever, and like that just didn't make sense to me. And yeah, I think extension English wasn't as bad. I think I actually did better in extension English compared to advanced, because extension you did a bit more story writing and other things. With advanced English and all that, I dropped the extension for year 12, and also I was expected to do 4-unit anyway, 4-unit maths, sorry. So, if I wanted to do other fun stuff, I couldn't do like 4-unit maths and 4-unit English, although the 4th unit of English could have been fun because it's like story writing mainly. But at the time, I think all my stories very derivative and very much about like my concerns, and so people don't really understand my stories. And I got some friends to read some of my stories, and they're just like, yeah, it's really weird. And like, weird is what I am. But so as going to a like private Catholic girls' school and showing my stories to, yeah, probably wasn't ever going to work. But yeah, no. So I would have liked to do 4-unit English, but then I would also have to do 3-unit and advanced English, and it was just like shit fight. Feels like we're on the verge of a revolution. Really? I don't think so. I think it's just business as usual, but looking weird. Unless you mean like the Netherlands specifically. But yeah, no, with English. So I dropped extension English after year 11, and in year 12 I just did advanced English. But it was more of that same crap, and we also had to study Clueless. Oh, fucking kill me, because it's oh, okay, you guys. Well, how's that revolution gonna go if you're all snowed in, eh? If there's still snow there. Although if you're getting hay fever, maybe there's not so much now. No, oh my god, HSC English, Clueless. The reason we had to study Clueless is because it's based on a 200-year-old book by some chick who's just like awful. Snow's gone. Oh. So you can't make that spiderweb thing, hey? Yeah, Jane Austen. I don't care if the book is 200 years old, I still don't give a crap. 17 degrees? That's like, minimum. Yeah, the 90s movie Clueless. It was terrible. And then, consider I'm at this point in my life, I'm at a Catholic girls' school, which means like basically no sex ed. And I mean, a little bit, but not like the inappropriate non Catholic stuff. And so in Clueless, there's a bit where she's holding a piece of toast. Like it's a toast crust. It's like, the bread's been cut in a triangle shape, and then she's like eating that bit and she's holding the toast like in that shape and waving it around or something, and the teacher explained like it's meant to represent like a limp penis or something, and I'm just like, how the fuck am I supposed to know this stuff? You guys haven't taught me anything about this, and like now you're explaining this to me, and also like this is what we're studying, a fucking piece of toast representing a penis? You kidding? It's just like, I don't know. Like that's another reason I struggled with high school English. Like there's interpreting Shakespeare and old shit like that from a feminist, Marxist, postmodern perspective, for whatever that good that does me. And then there's clueless bullshit just because it's based on a 200-year-old novel that also sucks. And so like I couldn't watch the movie more than once. Basically. I couldn't watch the movie more than once. Like I watched it once, and I think we watched clips in class. And the feminist thing is interesting though, because it's a Catholic school, right? It's conservative, it's traditional. So like on the one hand, there's like this, yes, we're educating women and all that kind of stuff, but there was also this conservative vibe going on at the same time. But also they may have thought it's progressive to give the girls something girly to study. And I'm here like not a girly girl going like, what are you doing? Everyone else is getting to study fucking Blade Runner, which it turns out I don't really like Blade Runner anyway. The parts that I've seen, I just fall asleep. But I don't think I've ever watched the whole thing in one go. But like at the time I was like, couldn't we study something like that instead of Clueless? Are you kidding? Cold's my weakness. Yeah, so HSC English, that final year especially, I was doing advanced English, but there's a component. I mean, I don't know if this is still the case, but when I was a kid, they like the way English worked is like everyone had to study English, and there was a core component, but there was also advanced and standard English, and it didn't matter which level you did, you still had to do this core component. But then I think you did 2 exams for English, so one would test everyone on the core component, and then the other one would test either advanced or standard. And at my school, what they used to do is the people in standard English, there's different options for the core component. And so they'd study the core component one that was deemed easiest, that was more about like just upfront kind of language. It's not trying to be too fluffy. The advanced English guys, they're still studying the core component, but they'd study the more metaphorical part of the core component. And so I was still in advanced English. But I was struggling. And so what my school did is, for those of us who were struggling, we ended up in this rescue group where, yes, we're studying advanced English, but for the core component, we do what the standard guys were doing. And it was so much like it. I heard what my friends who were in the advanced core component were doing, and it turns out like what we were doing was actually so much easier, and they were so frustrated. And so like that's one good thing my school did. But like the whole English syllabus is just insane. Like I came out of high school thinking I couldn't write, thinking I sucked at essays and all this kind of stuff. But when I finally got to university, like my first semester out of school, and I had to do a 3,000 word essay, I think, about I was studying Asian religions, and so I did mine on Shinto, and I got a D. And I thought this was the American thing. I'm like, oh yeah, D, that makes sense for me in essays. But no, it turns out it was a distinction. Me getting a distinction in something written, I was just like, it turns out I can write. And the only thing at school that could have possibly tipped me off at that was drama in year 11. I was doing drama as one of my electives. I dropped it for the HSC because I was struggling, but also I had to make space to be able to do the 4th unit of maths. Some writing teachers' standards are whack. This is like the state mandated at the time. I think there's now a national syllabus, but it was a state mandated um, English. It was terrible. But yeah, no, the only way I could have known in high school that I might be okay at writing was because in drama in year 11, um, as well as doing the acting kind of stuff, we also had to write reviews. And so, I wrote mine and I actually got really good marks. I didn't think much of it at the time because I was struggling, but I got really good marks. And before I quit drama, had been talking to my teacher about like what I'm going to do for my major project. For those creative subjects, you tend to have a major project as well as an exam. And I wasn't going to do acting for a major project because I was just not good enough. But what I wanted to do was videos, which is interesting because I'm now on YouTube, right? But I wanted to do a music video, which is also interesting because now I'm a musician and I'm also working on a music video. But I think music videos weren't an acceptable sort of thing to submit. Like it had to be more of an acting kind of video rather than a music video. Even though music videos have acting, I think it needed to have dialogue and so on. So yeah, I was just like, oh, I don't really want to do that. And so my drama teacher was like, you should write reviews, like, you'd be really good at them, blah, blah, blah. And I thought he was just trying to make me feel better and make me stay in the subject. But in hindsight, I actually did really well in those drama reviews. And that's like actually writing in normal people language, not academic wank language. So, yeah, I think I was better able to express what I was trying to say. And, I also looked in a dictionary and found some exciting words to use in there, like scintillating. So yeah, I did really well in those. And I just didn't realize because in English I was so bad and I thought, oh, it can't be because of that. It must be for some other reason that I've done well. And, I'm struggling in the rest of the subject anyway. But yeah, no, my school did a terrible job of telling me I was good at writing. Yeah, I guess also they school didn't know how much writing I was doing in my downtime because all through high school, pretty much. I mean, there were a few breaks, but I was doing that online RPG thing, which we didn't have like a dungeon. Is it a dungeon master they call it in the RPG? I don't know. We just kind of took turns writing the bad guy, and then we'd sort of collaboratively write the story. It was a bit Dragon Ball Z in some ways, but with more magic. We kind of just brought in all our influences. There was some biblical stuff going on. And that's what I'd be doing until the late hours of the night because they were all in America and I was the one random Aussie and they'd wake up early in the morning. I wake up late at night, which that's what I was doing when September 11 happened. I was on the internet writing these sort of violent, interesting stories. They're probably crap if we go back and look at them, but I was having fun at the time, wasn't I? So I was writing a lot back then. But I just school didn't help me figure out that I was any good. Let me just take some of this because my nose is just annoying me too much. How much should I have? An adult dose or a kid's dose? I suppose I don't have to do anything tomorrow, so I just go the full adult dose. Hey, 10 mils. Sorry, give me a moment. Oh, I've got to wash the thing too. Sorry, I'll go do that. I was getting ready for school. I had a feeling the buildings would go down before they did. When it happened, my dad ran into the room and was like, "A plane's just hit a building," and I was like, "Yeah, whatever," and just kept going. Take them all? What? So yeah, I was just still writing these stories, and then he comes in, another plane hit a building, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Did a little, but then my parents didn't usually stay up late, but when I was I don't know if I was finished writing or if I was taking a break and going to I had an ensuite. That was when we were living at that rental place while this place was being renovated. So I don't know, at some point I ended up in the living room where the TV was, and they were still awake watching it, and I just sort of planted my butt and was watching like the entire thing because I was still into the whole, like, destruction was very interesting. These days when I watch destructive things, like, it's still cool in a way, but I'm just less in that vibe. Although the whole Beirut thing, that explosion, I watched a few different angles, and you know, um, but yeah, no, I was sort of glued to the screen for the thing, and then the towers. Was I watching the towers fall live? Quite possibly. I think, yeah, that's probably when I tuned in, was just before the towers came down. Um, and then they show the replays of the planes hitting and the replays of the things coming down, and yeah, that was, I think, the moment that I realized I was a little bit fucked up. No, the next day was when I realized I was fucked up, because I went to school, and because I was a nerd, I often went to the computer room and would just do stuff on the computers, maybe more RPGing, I don't even remember. But yeah, there were lots of people in the computer room. I'm like, why are you people here? This is my space. And they were all looking up pictures of like people jumping out of the buildings and all that kind of stuff. And I thought they were just like me, like they were sort of had that morbid curiosity, and like that destroyer half of me, which is just like into all that violent shit. But then we got to homeroom and they do like the announcements, and I think they must have been trying to talk about it because, like, how do the kids understand this? And was it then, or it was either then or afterwards, I might have overheard some teachers talking, saying like, isn't it, hang on, I'm getting this mixed up. It might have actually been in the computer room that I overheard teachers talking while people are looking up the people jumping out the buildings, and they said something like, "Oh, isn't it lovely how concerned the students are about this happening? Like, oh, they're so worried." And yeah, concerned might have been the word, and like concerned for the people. That's not why I was watching. I was watching for the explosions and stuff. I was watching for the collapse. I was watching for the destruction of it. And I was just like, shit, everyone's looking at this because they actually care about the people. And that's when I was like, there's something weird about me in there. Um, mm. And I mean, the name Destroyer and all that actually comes from the RPGing. So that I already had in my head. The name, but yeah. Oh, I'm trying to think. Like, I feel like this is a bad time to go on that kind of ramble because I feel like I have to go back to the beginning. When did I get that sort of vibe? I used to rent horror as a really young kid. They would look at my mom like, "What the hell, lady?" Not into it now, especially physiological stuff. Couldn't sleep after seeing Midsummer. I don't know Midsummer. But I just find horror difficult because it's always so ridiculous. Like, I think I watched the Grudge with a friend maybe, and we watched the Japanese and then the English version when that came out, and I was just like, I don't get it. I didn't really get why that one was scary. But then I think with my ex, actually, he was into some of that stuff, and so we watched some things. Oh, psychological. I'm pretty sure I watched some with my ex, and maybe with some other friends as well. And like, it's always the same thing where like there's scary stuff in the house, and instead of just leaving, people go towards the scary sound. There was one where like it followed them from house to house, so okay, fine, but their behavior is always just stupid. Like, they've never seen a horror movie. Do horror movies not exist in the world of horror movies? Like, yeah, I don't know. And then they tend to be over the top because they're going for that shock value, and it's just like, for me, I'm just like, oh yeah, more of this, hey. I don't know. I think the only one that I enjoyed more recently, like proper horror movie, is like before, like when I realized I got the Hallow Scream thing and I was in New York, I think I went and watched the original Japanese Ringu. Ringu. I never know whether to pronounce Japanese things in my Aussie accent or my Japanese accent. But But yeah, the original Japanese The Ring jump scares. Speaking of jump scares, the scariest part for me of Alien, the first Alien movie, because like I guess culturally, was already aware of the concept of an alien popping out of the stomach, so that one didn't do it for me. For me, the scariest part is like I think the face hugger goes missing, and then they're in this room looking for it, and you're expecting it to jump out, but actually someone bumps into a trash can, and the trash can falls over and makes a loud noise. That's when I jumped, not for anything else in the movie. There's an axe murderer on the loose. Oh, what's that noise out the back in the dark? Better go see what it is. Exactly. Most logical thing to do. Oh my god. You guys get what I mean, right? Oh dear. Yeah, no. So with September 11, that was definitely the first time that I actually was like, wait a minute, I'm actually a bit weird. Or alternatively, I'm the only one who admits to feeling that way. Like, were they looking out of concern, or were they looking for disaster porn? They're not going to say, are they? They're going to at least pretend to be a decent human being, and it's just out of concern. But, part of me also thinks that everyone is kind of into that drama, and I just happen to be the one person to admit it to myself, especially in a Catholic private girls' school. Scary ghost killer yawn. Trash can. Yeah, the trash can's what made me jump. The most mundane thing. When the alien's scurrying around, I can deal with that. Yeah, no. So September 11th is when I realized I was a nutcase. But before that, like I think even in primary school, I remember things like in hindsight that are probably weird about me and my interests, and like my paranoia about people being able to read my mind. When I was really young, I was very worried about that, because I was like, if anyone can read my mind, I'm in big trouble. But also, like when I was a kid, that's when I thought about acting, because I was like that's the only way I'll get to do anything cool in that sort of vein. So it is cool that I ended up doing the Hello Scream thing, because I kind of got to do that type of acting role that younger me wanted to do. So yay for ticking off goals. It's just a shame it doesn't last, the rest of the year. But no, it was a really good experience. But I think for me, like the main outlet is music. I think what I like about music is I can do it in a self-directed way, whereas with acting, someone else is directing you. And with music, like music is easier than say performance art, which is another so wanky. And also anytime you want to do an exhibition, there's like so much detail. Like I think you even have to get, what do they call it? It's some kind of like public insurance you have to get to do art type stuff. And I'm just like, oh my god, really? And then getting an art gallery and trying to book one, and the expense of it. Whereas if I'm going to be a musician, I just book in with a venue. The venue might pay me if it's one of those gigs, or if it's an open mic I get in for free, they might give me a free drink. I don't have to get any of that. I think it's public liability insurance or something. I don't have to get any of that because the venue's got that all sorted. I just get up, I do my thing. And it's fun, and it's not like this sort of art wanky kind of stuff. So yeah, music definitely works better for me. Just be an elf and randomly scream for Christmas. Oh my god. Can you imagine? Yeah. Actually, one year, like ages ago, well before I knew about Hello Scream even being a thing, I did Zombie Walk, which was like a fundraiser for some brain foundation. I forget, but we all dressed up as zombies and walked through the city. And afterwards there was a gig on, which might have been a Halloween gig. And so I was still in my zombie get up. Like it wasn't actual Halloween, it was on the weekend. Halloween was on a weekday that year, I think. And while like I got to the venue early, so while I was waiting, I sat across the road on these random steps that just go to nowhere. And so I sat on the corner, and there's these traffic lights. And so as people were walking, I would sort of like reach out. I had all these chains and stuff and freak people out. So I just did like impromptu performance art, I guess. And some people would jump, but there was also like a family and they jumped, but then the kids wanted to get photos with me. So I was just like, that was good fun. And then yeah, went across to the gig and yeah, no, that was a good time. Um Fun stuff. I think though, I bumped into my ex later, so that would have been a bummer for the end of the night. But the rest of it was good fun. Um, yeah, that's how long ago it was. My ex was still around. Um, yeah. What else? What else? What else? My voice is doing better than I thought it was going to. Um, 'Cause yeah, no, coming out of that sickness, it felt a bit off. But also, like, I made the mistake of trying to sing Disturbed in that sort of half distorted voice again, and I think I'm just doing it wrong, and it throws off my chest voice, which is a bit odd. Like, when you talk to vocal coaches, they say that you lose your high pitch first, but for me, like, my high pitch is almost always fine, and my growls are fine, but it's that in between chest voice singing that tends to go, especially the high end of the chest voice. So maybe like pop vocalists, because they tend to do chest voice and belt and stuff, maybe that's what they mean about the highs going. But yeah, for me, my highs, um, I don't really get problems. But yeah, no, Disturbed ruins that in between voice, and that in between is the more popular kind of tone for a lot of songs and like where the pitch is written. Um, so I just can't do. I've got to make sure I don't get tempted to do Disturbed, because whatever I'm doing now is not. I don't think it's what I used to do, and it's just not really healthy for my voice. I feel so. But that's fine because I'm not really that in between. My name is gray, but my my the way I do things is like the black and the white. So I've got the crazy growls and the girly highs. Like I like having that separation, that sort of duality kind of thing. It suits me just fine. So if I can't do that half distorted tone anymore, that doesn't matter. I'll do my own thing my own way. It's just yeah, it's the less popular kind of thing to do, like especially in metalcore, which I've been into more lately. Um, they tend to prefer like having that sort of chest voice gradually drive into a fry scream, and then there's like in betweens as well, and it's more of a seamless kind of transition, whereas I like to be a bit more abrupt and go from one extreme immediately into the other. And it's hard to find songs like that to practice to. um, I suppose the obvious one that people have suggested in the past is that Ginger song, but I'm pretty sure she's belting, and she also like her technique's very odd. It's hard to place exactly what she's doing, and so I'm not sure how easy that would be in my voice. And I think also with the cleans, her range is different, so I'd probably have to pitch shift it. But I haven't played around with it enough. I'm just working on other stuff, especially because that song's so overdone. But yeah, no, there are some ones that I can adapt into my voice that still sound alright. Um, yeah, no, oh my god, I think like at some point the wind blew funny and I got a little bit of dirt in my eye at work. Hazard of working with soil all the time. I actually have to wash my pants this time. Like, oh, look at this dirt mark, because I was doing weeding outside, and so I didn't have a bench, and so I just sort of rested it against my knees, and so like this bit here as well. And I was after a day of working the bonsai nursery. Um, yeah, no, yeah. Every time I talk in these streams, I feel like my nose starts to get a little bit. But now I've had Diamond Tap. We'll see if that clears up. But yeah, it's annoying. I wonder if it's something about the way I talk, because I don't really talk a lot in the rest of my life. Maybe when I'm talking to mum, I'll go on a bit, but most of the time I'm actually kind of silent, and I don't like I'll do specific singing sessions, but I don't listen to a lot of music unless I'm doing my finance job, which I just need something that's not finance, and so like I'll mindlessly sing along then. Otherwise, I'm pretty silent a lot of the time. Especially if I'm trying to read something, I don't want to be distracted as I'm like if I'm listening to music or trying to sing. No, I just need to read. I just need to focus. Maybe I'm not so good at multitasking. They say like chicks are better at multitasking, and I'm like, I'm not sure that's me. But then they also say that maths is more of a male brain thing, and I'm good at maths, so maybe that's. part of that. I don't know. But, that sort of gendered brain thinking is not very helpful, I feel. It's just that old traditional ideas. Hey, oh dear. Where's my drink bottle? I feel like I do this every time. We have to row back. Here it is. I'm back. Anyway, so music, like I'm increasingly feeling like doing more solo stuff. But yeah, I gotta do this music video. I gotta finish it. And it's just like because I was sick, I feel like I lost a whole week of productivity. So the music video is gonna take a little bit longer, but the floor is lava. Especially my floor is red. Could probably Photoshop in some lava though, some actual little fiery bits. Anyway, yeah, no, I feel like doing more solo stuff. Although those guys that I was talking to through email, if I go audition for them and if things work out, I could end up in a band. I'm leaving that option open, but like I'm sort of, I've had a lot of frustrating things go on with trying to find bands. So yeah, increasingly I'm feeling like if I don't find one, I will just go back to doing solo stuff and, write enough music that I don't have to be at an open mic anymore. And then get some more material so it's not just that first EP that I released, because that's like got asexuality in big letters across it and I don't want to be defined by that. I really want some different material that's more about what I actually am into, because like cynically, yes, asexuality is like a part of who I am and all that kind of stuff, but it's not that important. And I did it mainly cynically to get through uni, because yeah, that project was for university. And especially in art school tends to be left leaning, and so I cynically exploited that. Oh dear, oh dear. Dear, oh dear. And yeah, it worked. I got really good marks. For each assessment, he gave me like 1 mark below perfect. And so, yeah, I ended up with a mark of 97 out of 100. So, yay me and my cynicism. But personally, I mean, the whole point of that asexuality album was to subvert asexual culture, because like I hate it, like the whole the particular colors you're supposed to be into and the cake thing constantly, and then the music that they produce. Oh my god, I think I made some videos, maybe like a video presentation about the asexual music that existed at the time. Like I actually sorted out, and it's so I don't like it, I guess we'll say, because it tends to be that sort of singer-songwriter, like amateur kind of thing, and it's always the same kind of stuff that they're talking about. I heal a jugs. I shouldn't inhale scream. Supposedly inhale screams are bad for you. It's just, That's what I'll do instead, a sort of false chord. Asexual music is a thing weird. Well, like it's like a topic. I don't know that anyone would call it a genre, but it's all the same kind of stuff. Like, it's like the main open mic that I go to is very LGBT, and you get a lot of similar stuff from other LGBT kinds of stuff. It's all part of that same kind of vibe, and it's not something I'm a huge fan of. Like I love that open mic because like they accept me in there with my crazy music. A lot of open mics seem to be like a singer with a guitar or a piano, and here I come along with my electronic tracks and my growling, and like it's always they're really open to that, so that's nice. And I get to talk to some interesting people, especially once I come off stage and everyone wants to ask me about stuff. And I'm on the way to get my free Coca-Cola from the bar, and the bartender saying, "Happy birthday, how old are you?" And I'm like, 30. I thought you were 18. No, I'm 30. That was an exchange I had one time, especially because I was ordering something non-alcoholic. It made the illusion of me being young even stronger. But anyway, never mind that. No, so asexual music, I think it's similar to that sort of LGBT kind of thing. And, they're trying to say the usual sort of stereotypical stuff, and, it's okay to not like people, or, whatever. Um, and sort of explaining what asexuality is, and yeah, and for me, I'm just like, it's so obvious. And one of the problems with asexuality as well is like it's almost impossible to talk about without talking about sex. And I mean, it's even in the word asexuality, and you can't get away. So for my whole asexuality EP, I don't mention asexuality. Like that was one of the things I definitely wanted to do. Like, yes, this album is titled that, but it never comes up again. And everything else is about like an experience I had, maybe, and it's very indirect. So there's You Won't is about people trying to change me, particularly like on YouTube when I was like younger making videos about it. And then you'd get all these kinds of comments that were just super annoying and trying to convince me that like wasn't old enough, hadn't met the right person, blah 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 blah. Please don't look at, yeah, well, I'm 32 now. And like I get that in mainstream culture, it's desirable to look younger, but one of the downsides is constantly having to show your ID everywhere. Because then I have to get my wallet out and rummage. But hey, if I'm dressed a particular way and walk with a certain attitude, sometimes they don't ask and I can just get in. But yeah, I have to make sure I have that right like look about me, which I'm probably not so good at doing. But anyway, yeah, no, You Won't. What's the next? Let me just look up my AP because I forget what all the titles are. The next one, Catch 22. Okay, so that's one of the things where, like I don't. I sort of say it in the chorus, but like not explicitly. Everyone thinks I'm 25. I'm 33. Yeah, no, Catch 22 is this thing where if you've been in a relationship, people say, "Oh, you can't possibly be asexual, like you've been in a relationship." But if you haven't been in a relationship, it's that thing of like you just haven't tried it yet. So it's sort of this catch 22 kind of thing. And I don't know, if you read the lyrics, you can probably like get some of it, but also see how I'm dodging the subject in a way to not explicitly say this is an asexuality thing. So if people want to interpret this EP their own way, it's easier because I'm not saying this is what the song's about. It can be whatever. The next one, Navigating the Nightmare, is about, like pretty much everywhere you go, someone's trying to sell something with sex, or like if you're watching a movie, there's almost always romance, unless it's like a kid's show. And even in a kid's show, sometimes you get it. And often, like with adult shows, there'll be a random sex scene for no reason that doesn't serve the story. One exception would be like Vanilla Sky, because like weird shit is going on. But yeah, a lot of the time it's just kind of pointless. And so like, Navigating the Nightmare, there's all this stuff everywhere. And it's just like, oh my God, how do I escape that kind of thing? Cool title. The next one is The Psychologist, and I think I mentioned that fairly recently, is that my psychologist gave me some terrible advice. Like when I first went in and said I'm just asexual, I'm not interested in anyone, she said, "Are you sure you're not just gay?" And then also when I did get into a relationship, she's like, "See, you just hadn't met the right person." But it turned out he was kind of borderline abusive, or maybe actually abusive. I don't know. He was a manipulative sort of guy, gaslighting. So I don't know where the definitions lie. But when I was having, like, I think I'd broken up with him, but kept bumping into him, and he was still trying to manipulate me. And my psychologist saying, like, when I'm sort of talking about it and like looking for guidance, she said, "Well, at least you weren't bored when you were with him," which is like a terrible reason to stay with someone who is being like that to you. So like, it's just about this terrible advice and her like not taking me seriously on that. There's not too many lyrics in that, but you can, especially knowing the backstory, you can probably understand the lyrics a little bit better if you go read them. I'll chuck this into the live chat if anyone wants to check it out while I'm. Yeah, it is awful advice. Shit psychology. I think because like this is more than more. Yeah. No. So I saw her for a number of years before I finally got completely fed up. I did at one point try and see someone else, but they didn't work out even worse. So, but if you, um, that was like close to 10 years ago, like before and after 10 years ago. And so I guess a lot of this wasn't as well known because asexuality wasn't really known as a thing. And in medical circles, having like, if you're not interested in that kind of stuff, they tend to see it as a disorder. Um, but really it's only a disorder if you're distressed by it, which I'm not. I'm perfectly happy like not being interested in people. What do you want out of a relationship? I don't want a relationship. I don't. I've had 3 proper relationships, and then there was those shenanigans while I was on that dating app because of a TED Talk where I was like, "That sounds like fun," and it turned out to not be fun. But some of the people's profiles were hilarious. I saved some screenshots of one of them was like, "I'm looking for marriage for immigration," and I'm like, "Well, at least you're honest." There are some strange people. So actually, I did get some entertainment value out of that. Yeah, yeah, some strange people on those dating websites, like the way they present themselves. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Um, yeah, no, I sort of signed up to a yeah, I signed up as a joke, and like my name was Crazy Bitch, so of course, and I also said if my dog doesn't approve of you, I don't approve of you, kind of thing, and I eventually got banned for inappropriate username, but hey, whatever. The annoying thing though was they only realized I had an inappropriate username because I had reported a guy for stalking. So, well done to them. um Relationship with yourself is enough. Yeah, I've got enough voices in my head. I don't need to deal with some other person, right? No, back to the EP. So the last song is called Comrades, and that's actually a criticism of the asexual community because I was on one of their Facebook pages, and they're trying to be too inclusive to the point that instead of dealing with asexual issues and supporting people in the asexual community, it got overrun by, I think, trans activists. And I said the wrong thing. I was trying to be supportive, but I was supportive in the wrong way. And I got this pile on, and I was like, this is bullshit. So I stayed in the comments and replied and defended myself. And all the people who were talking, like who were commenting nasty things to me, like I realized I wasn't going to change them, but I sort of also realized that other people would be reading this conversation. And so when someone asked me, like, why are you still here? It's clear that no one agrees with that no one agrees with you. And maybe they might have said that. And I said, well, I'm writing for the quiet people who aren't, who might be reading this but don't want to say anything. And once I wrote that, I actually had people turn up going, yeah, I'm one of those people who was just reading along and I agree with everything you're saying and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was a kind of a shit experience, and so I've become a bit more wary of those kinds of groups. And yeah, another thing I think that song deals with, if I just look up the lyrics, is that the one? Yeah, they talk about sex a lot, like it's an asexual group, and you still have all this chatter about the thing that we're supposed to not, I don't know. And yeah, so there's a lot in that song. Sign up for one online dating site. Maybe I didn't get going to my page. Oh dear. But yeah, so that the asexual community, I think also because a lot of that is tied up with some of that more extreme left wing kind of culture that's sort of going around, like sort of seeping into mainstream culture at the moment, that the right wing gets really frustrated about. There's a bit of that. Also, like asexual culture is where, like, there's asexuality, but then there's sort of like the halfway point gray sexuality, and then they break down all these other little sexualities, and it's very similar to the breaking down of a gazillion genders. And I sort of wonder, did the gazillion genders come first, or did the asexuality guys trying to define themselves do that first, and then that got translated into the gender thing? I'm not sure, but I think because, like, with asexuality, there are a lot of confused people, and so they might eventually realize that they are into a certain type of person, but they still like, overall don't feel attracted to anyone, and so they're trying to come up with a way to explain that, and I think that's one of the reasons there's so many different words, and, like, while I was dating, I was sort of asking those questions as well, and so I think I was sort of like, "Well, am I this demisexual label?" And then if you are a demisexual label, you can also stick, a hetero demisexual, or you can do a homo demisexual. Like, you can stick all these extra labels and they all build into this mountain. And after a while, like, if you get too into it, you can just come up with this label that is not relevant to anyone except yourself, and, like, impossible for anyone to understand because you've put all these little conditions in it, and it's over defining stuff. And I just wonder how much of that ended up playing into the gender thing. Or did they grow up together? I don't know. And even to the point where asexuality, the asexual community, started thinking about different types of attraction. So that's why you get people who are asexual, but they will date someone because they have a romantic orientation. And, like, I don't really understand that because I'm not a romantic person. I did only date guys though, so but yeah, I'm not a romantic person. Oh my gosh. But beyond that, there were some people who were sort of advocating a platonic orientation, and at that point you're properly insane because, like, now you're choosing a particular gender to just be friends with. I don't know, there's some odd stuff that goes into, like, over defining yourself instead of just being like, this is me. You're like, no, I have to have these particular labels. It just got very strange. um Oh shit, where did I go? Where am I up to? Relationship with spiritual realm and people every day is pretty exhausting, also with myself. I don't understand why anyone gives a shit what other people identify with. Romantic but non-sexual is pretty common. Met a few people like that. Uh, I don't know. It might be like a sort of Western thing, um, because we live in that very sort of individualistic society. Um, and then I wonder if secular society plays into it because humans do like to be part of, like, a club. And so in the past, that would have been a religion tying people together. But if you don't have a religion, what do you go for? And so for some people, it's politics. And I guess for some people, it's identity politics or whatever. You know, you just become part of some group. If you label yourself, then you can be part of a group. If you don't have a label, though, it's a little bit trickier, maybe. Just thinking off the top of my head. Um, and I think also, like, like, I didn't have identity problems until I got to maybe high school, and they're talking, like, I heard people talking about, when you're a teenager, you're trying to find yourself. And I'm like, I'm meant to find myself? Oh shit. Like, if that hadn't occurred to me, maybe I wouldn't have had that kind of problem. But that is something culturally we talk about, is people finding themselves. And I think that might also play into why people feel like they need to define themselves. Um, I've kind of figured I just change a lot. So, like, is there any point to pinning down exactly who I am? I don't know. But yeah, no, I think that sort of club mentality helps a lot, like, goes into a lot. Didn't know I was lost. Yeah. I don't know. It's this interesting psychology thing. And oh, what was that other thing? There was something else. Was it? Hang on, let me just think a moment. It might have been a mental health thing. Labels suck. Hang on, someone's in the hallway making noise again. So let's just get. I think that's Mum going to bed. So, sorry, I'm burping now. There's a little bit too much air in that. Anyway, so while I was sick, I didn't want to sing. So while I was doing my finance work, instead of playing music, because I do end up accidentally singing along, instead of music, I was playing some podcasts. And there was this one I came across that was about, I guess, the development of ideas about mental health and the role of capitalism. Well, what's the word I'm looking for? Industrialization, maybe, in mental health knowledge, like the development of the field of psychiatry and so on, and also like talking a bit about how different cultures handle mental illness. And so, like, for example, in a more tribal, more traditional, like ancient culture, or was that a high pitch, or was that one of the little hairs in my ear dying? I just heard a sudden high pitch. Um, but it's gone already. I'm sorry, little hair, if you just died. Sometimes when you get a little sound, it's because the hair in your ear that helps you hear certain pitches is dying, or maybe it just got a little bit wonky. Anyway, no, what am I talking about? So in some of those more tribal cultures, more traditional superstitious cultures, with mental health, what they think is happening is that you might actually be possessed. And so, whatever's happening to you isn't actually your fault. And so, if you have a mental illness in that kind of situation, they might be more willing to accept you and realize that it's not your fault. They might do exorcisms, but they might also be like, it's not your fault, it's this evil spirit. We'll try and, help you get through it, was the kind of idea. I don't know how accurate an assessment that is, because I don't know, like, if you're in a culture, you might realize something different. And sometimes, if as an outsider, you can romanticize a culture. Also, when we're talking about these cultures that believe in possession, there's so many different ones. So some of them will have this attitude, others won't. But the idea was, because you're possessed, it's not your fault. And so there's not this mental health stigma, I guess. It's more like we've got to sort of deal with this evil spirit or whatever. And then there's, like, also things like shamanism, I guess, that explain some of the things that are going on. And, like, you're conversing with the spirit realm, I guess. So those kinds of explanations for mental health. So that's like a cultural thing. On the unless they decide the only way to kill demons is destroy the vessel, I think they would have to kill too many people, because it turns out a good proportion of us are crazy, or are crazy at some point in our lives. It's like 20%, I think. Um, but no, when it comes to the Western culture, right? So the field of psychiatry is relatively young, I guess. But one of the key events that this podcast was saying is, back in the day, people used to live on farms. And so if you had a family member who's like me, has suffered from mental illness, and at times, like, been too depressed to do very much, not really a productive member of the household, can't work, or has trouble working, all that kind of stuff. If you're living on a family farm, right, the rest of the world doesn't necessarily know you exist, and that unproductive members of the family are around. So back in that day, mental illness might not have been as widely known. Like, there might be whispers of it, and some of that superstitious culture even, but in terms of studying it as a science and realizing that it's a thing, probably not so common. But when industrialization happened and more people are moving into the cities to work in these factories and so on, suddenly you get all these people together, and you know it's harder to hide someone at home who's having those kinds of issues. And I guess maybe it is like with the capitalism, you're trying to all work and make money, and you have this family member who can't do any of this kind of stuff, and so you send them to an institution, because, like, what else are you going to do with them, I guess, especially if you can't afford to keep them in the house. I don't know. But once you get all those people with mental illness in a particular spot, then you can actually be like, oh, there's actually similarities between these ones, and then these ones have a different kind of a thing. And you can actually start studying people as having particular mental illnesses, instead of just, this is an unproductive member of the family, or this is a weird person. You can actually start seeing the similarities and coming up with definitions and treatments and all this. Born speciality is maybe our call. Heh? People would hide that stuff, all the social gossip. Yeah, it was sort of, talking about the role of how Western society in particular changed, because a lot of that happened in Western society. Yeah, and how people were brought together. Why was I talking about this? I don't remember why I was talking about this. Oh, dear, oh dear. But so that's a mental illness thing podcast. I don't remember what. Does anyone remember what made me think of that? Am I supposed to tie it into a particular point? Mm, I don't know. I just get on a tangent, and then I'm like, here are all the details about this tangent. And then where was I? Where was I before this tangent started? Help! Help me, guys. What was I talking about? Why was I talking about mental health, um, and industrialization and culture? Oh, none of us remember. Maybe. Hmm. Oh dear. Something about asexual culture. And you acting asexuality something. Oh. Well, there's a tangent. I forget where I was going. Um Oh, it's so frustrating because, like, if there was a point that I was or a direction I was going, I'd like to get there. But also, maybe it was just a random thing and there is no point, and I'm sitting here trying to think if there was a point, but it doesn't exist, and so I'll never find it. Life is one big tangent. My life certainly is, you know? I sort of grew up in a like my environment that I grew up was very much that standard. You go to school, you do well, you study, you do at uni, you do well, and then you get a good job and you make money. And that is not how things worked out for me. um and I think if I could go back and do it over, I maybe wouldn't have gone to university. I might have done TAFE instead. TAFE is a bit more practical. um, instead of so TAFE is a Aussie thing, I guess, and it's not, instead of getting a degree, you get a certificate, so it's like the next level down. Um, there are diplomas at TAFE, I think, but um, yeah, it's generally more like practical skills instead of like wanky essay writing. Which, yeah, I've had enough of. Like, every now and then, I have one of my lecturers at music school wanted me to eventually do a PhD, but I'm just like, yeah, I don't think I would have the focus for that, especially not now. And I did a bachelor's degree and a master's, but I never did honors. So I think I would have to do some kind of honors thing to be able to qualify for a PhD. I think my best bet otherwise would be a research master's, but I don't think, like, what would I even research? And like research masters, like in art, um, can just be like making an artwork and then you write a thesis to go with it, saying how it's contributing something new. It's very not what a PhD used to be. Like in medicine, for example, you're actually studying something new that we can use in society. But in art, I mean, I'm very cynical about the art world and the creative sort of PhDs, but it's just like it's your own kind of thing. Did you really contribute that much? Unless you were like contributing a new technique for making art, maybe, but yeah. That's This face is all I have to say about that. I don't know. I don't know. I do I do understand people who say that university standards are in decline, especially because it's become more of a degree factory, and funding for universities in some places isn't what it used to be. Art world is full of bullshit. Yeah, I can write bullshit if I have to. Um, I'm just remembering some of the ones that I have done, but yeah, no, even for like, so the asexuality EP was my final project for my Master of Art degree, and as well as doing like the major work, I also had to write a sort of thesisy thing about it. And I was just so fed up at that point that I worked out I could fail the thesis and still pass the subject because I'd done well enough in the first two assignments um, for that class. So I just wrote mostly in normal language instead of academic language. And also with asexuality, there's not really, or at the time, there wasn't really any published research about it. Like, it was one of the things I did find was claiming that asexuality was some kind of feminist protest, and I'm like, That's not what it is. It's just that you're not interested in anyone. It's not that you're trying to be rebellious. You just are that way. Like, what a load of crap. Who wrote that article? Like, trying to frame it that way. I'm just like, no, no, fuck off. And so, I even explained to the guy running the course, look, there's no actual literature for me to reference on this topic. The only things I can reference are non-academic sources, really. It was so hard to find anything that could even be tangentially relevant to my thesis. And also, like, the guy who ran the class, he was from the design department for one thing, so that's already a bad sign because he doesn't get the whole art thing. He's about design, and the stuff that he showed us, I was just like, this is so boring. Why are we? Anyway, he had a PhD, right? Most articles are someone's personal propaganda nowadays. It very much depends. Like in the softer social sciences, yeah, because there's a lot of bullshit, especially coming out of America and to some extent Canada, I think. And actually, the UK seems to be going into a bit of that. But yeah, there's a lot of like very poor academic claims and stuff. Like the what was that thing was it last year or the year before? Those academics who did those hoax papers, rewriting Mein Kampf from a feminist kind of view, or I don't know, hilarious stuff like that. And it passed and they got a bunch of stuff published that was just like ridiculous bullshit. Dear, oh dear. But no, so this guy running the thesis class, right? He had a PhD, and in the course outline, it said you should have a bibliography to go with your thesis. And he when he was explaining the assignment to us, he said, now don't list anyone, don't list any sources in the bibliography that you haven't actually referenced in the thing. And I said, so you mean you want a reference list? And he didn't know the difference between a bibliography and a reference list. If you want a reference list, put it in the assignment outline. Don't ask for a bibliography. That's why you are getting people who are listing things that they didn't actually reference, because a bibliography includes all the background reading you did for your fucking thesis. Like, I don't have a PhD and I know that. That's like, if you have a bachelor's degree, you should know that. But you have a fucking PhD, and at that point, I didn't have a master's degree either. I was still a student. I only had the bachelor's degree. A fucking bibliography and a reference list are not the same, especially not in Australian standard. Like, maybe overseas, someone somewhere has fucked that up and they do refer it that way, but you're in the Australian system. Like, fuck off, mate. You and your dodgy PhD. This is why I get like, dear, oh dear. I mean, it was an art school, so it's not exactly the most academically rigorous, but whatevs. For me, I do feel like if I was trying to give advice to someone today, especially, I would say like university, you should only really go to if you're doing a course that you really need to go to uni, for example, medicine. With other stuff, like, you will get those people who are like, you should always be educating yourself as a reference. Yeah, pretty much. What was I just saying? Yeah, no, so with university, right? Especially when I was younger, you'd always get these people who say like learning should be a goal in itself and you should always be learning, and like it doesn't matter if the degree leads to something or not because you're getting this valuable education, right? But we now live in this digital era where you can actually access high quality information, sometimes for free, on the internet. You don't necessarily need to go to uni if that's what you want to get. And particularly overseas, where you need to have these huge debts to companies that aren't lenient. Like, I have a massive student debt, but it's to the Australian government, and they can't ask me for that money back until I'm earning over a certain amount, which at this point in my life doesn't look like it's ever going to happen. So they may never get that money back. They can't legally harass me for it. Whereas I know in America, people go into proper debt and then they spend years paying it off, and it just affects so much of their life. And so, especially if you're overseas, I would say, think before you go for a degree. Like, if it's what you really want to do, Sure, but if you're thinking that you should do it because so and so said learning is a goal in itself, and having a degree might get you more employment opportunities or whatever, I would say maybe not. Um, Especially because you can get some quite high paid jobs doing more practical stuff, like getting learning a trade like plumbing or electricity. Like people are always going to need that, so don't go in debt for it. Unless it's a government debt that like my student debt is horrific because I spent so much time dropping out of classes and trying to figure out what the fuck I wanted to do. And yeah, the only degrees I completed were the music in undergrad and then the art in postgrad. Um, and what did I end up with? A qualification in being a stay-at-home bum. I mean, like, the music degree was good because I actually learned how to make music. And for me, I do need that structured education. Like, if you just left me to my own devices, nowadays, I think I'm better at teaching myself stuff because I know how to search the internet. But at the time, I'm so old that at the time it was like I didn't really know how to search the internet quite well. And like, it didn't occur to me to do certain things. And, the internet wasn't quite as developed as it is today. YouTube was very different back then as well. Like weird ass vloggers like me who did quite well, whereas you didn't have as many of those tutorial and structured channels. So yeah, especially back then, like I really needed granny. Oh my god. Yes, the granny with the blue hair. Um, uh, yeah, I thought this was going to be a shorter live stream, but hey, whatevs. No, we're still going. Yeah, no, I needed that kind of structure, especially back then, coming out of school. I did spend like 2.5 years. So the end of 2007 and the end of 2008, I was not at uni and I was trying to teach myself stuff, but it wasn't going so well. I did need that structure to help me learn stuff. And like with music, I wouldn't even have known what to look up. So the degree did help me in that sense, although I was studying composition and I don't feel like I really understood how to write music when I came out the other end. I feel like that came much later once I'd done more, I don't know. It didn't click until later, like how to write music. And even later, before it was like, oh, now I've figured out a way to more reliably write music instead of it happening like unexpectedly sometimes. So yeah, the degree didn't really help me become a composer because I didn't already have enough understanding. And what I wanted to do wasn't necessarily what the course was set up to teach. I think it was better for like film composers and people who've already been doing a lot of that for a long time. I even started off in the diploma before I switched to the bachelor. So I got a lot of the theory okay, but yeah, I don't feel like I actually learned to be a composer. But like it did give me that structure, and I learned better with that kind of thing. And then I tried a few other degrees, and those didn't work out. But yeah, no. Then with the art course, the reason I went to uni to do that, and it was successful as well, but the main reason I did that was because I was depressed. And by then I had given up on this idea I had. Like when I used to be depressed, I'd start a new uni course thinking this is going to be the thing that fixes me. Never really worked that way. But especially all the ones I dropped out of. I dropped out of so many. Oh my God. But yeah, no, masters, that art degree, I had already given up on that idea. Like I knew it wasn't going to fix my life. So I went in a bit more realistically. And also it was more just so that I would get out of the house. Like I was depressed and I thought if I just stay at home all the time, it's not going to fix me. Especially like once I stopped working, I was just like, what am I going to do every day? I need something in my life. And I thought I'll go and study art. And I just did part-time that first year, especially because I already had credit from like previous study I had done. So the dropped out courses, not completely gone to waste because some of those subjects did get recognized. So I could do that first semester part-time and not fall behind. So I still got it done in 2 years. I didn't have to stretch it out at all. I didn't have to stick around at UNSW for their trimester system, which sounds like it went terribly. And they brought in the trimester system because they wanted to line up the semesters with overseas. And then of course, like a year later, COVID hits, so no one can go overseas to do exchange or whatever anyway. So you might as well have just kept the semester system, which was better, especially for art, because if I'd had to make artworks in that shorter period of time, like what I didn't need more class time during the week. I needed time to actually complete the artworks. So yeah, the semester system was much better for me. Anyway, I did that degree so that I would have something to do other than sitting at home being depressed. So in that sense, it was helpful. So it depends on why you're going to university. If it's to get a job, I would say you really only want to go to university if it's something like medicine where you absolutely have to go to uni to get that job. Otherwise, there are actually like higher paying jobs that you can do that don't involve having to write wanky essays. What is a waste life? Eh? Oh, what? Thinking through things, many things that many people do not ever do through their life. What is a waste life? You mean what is a waste of life? I don't know. I'm more talking about like wasting your time at university. You've got to know why you're there. I guess some people maybe do it for the social aspect, but there are other ways to socialize. A bad teacher can ruin things too. I started college of like who had bad social anxiety. Yeah, no, having good teachers helps. The bad teachers, I did have, the fucking sheep Nazi. I gave him a lot of nicknames. He's just like, he was this teacher who was kind of like the star of Kofa, and he was just a terrible teacher. He was so self-absorbed. And I mean, I don't use that language of like privilege very often, but this guy had a fuckload of it because he's telling me, a depressed student with very little resources, especially at the time, like I wasn't working and I was really struggling. He wanted me to get a live sheep and dye it pink. And I mean, that had nothing to do with what my project was about. I was exploring the idea of microfibers, microplastics, and like, microplastics in clothing and the waste that comes off that. And so I was like doing these little clay sheep and putting plastic Fimo balls in different colors, and that's like clothing it. Like there was a lot of symbolism going into this to talk about the plastic that makes up a lot of modern clothing materials. And he just wanted me to dye a sheep pink. And I mean, first of all, where the fuck am I going to get a sheep? And if I can even convince a farmer to give me their sheep, then convincing them to let me dye it and ruin its wool by dyeing it a particular color. And then never mind the ethics, like, can you just go and dye an animal a particular color? Like, you would have to go through ethics stuff. He never considered that. And like, the only reason he's suggesting this is because he likes working with live animals. And I really disagree with some of the stuff that he did, because at the time, around that time, he was doing a project where he got a dingo. Like, he actually adopted a dingo cub and used it in this virtual reality project. I don't know, it sounded heaps wanky. And then later on, I heard that he'd given up this dingo. So he only adopted it while it was useful to him. And I'm like, you asshole, because that dingo has gotten attached to you and you've had to care for it. And now you're just sending it off like a discarded Christmas present. Like, people who give dogs at Christmas without thinking about what happens afterwards. And, do the kids get bored of it when it's no longer a puppy? It was that sort of irresponsible crap. And he's their star. It's just like, fuck off. Animal abuse. Yeah, I was just like, I didn't, and when I first went to Kofa, I had him as a teacher, and he would always say my stuff's so cliche. But I would always have a twist so that on presentation day there'd be something that he wasn't expecting. But I actually did okay in that class, but he's always telling me my stuff is cliche. But then the openly lesbian chick was constantly making vagina art, and that's not cliche. Fuck off, mate. So I already had him as a teacher, but I thought, it was but almost 10 years later that I was back doing the masters, and I got him for that class again with the sheep. And I don't know, I should have withdrawn from the class and switched to a different class the moment I realized it was him, but I guess I'm too forgiving sometimes. Like, I do come across as very hard, but, um, sometimes I can be softer and give people a chance when I shouldn't, and yeah, I gave him a chance, and then it was too late to really switch to a different class, and so I just had to stick it out, but he was terrible, and, the art, like, the art he showed us was his own artwork. He didn't really show us anything by anyone else. And then on the assignment sheets, he'd list some artists. And like this is another thing. Like I don't usually care about this, but it was always these white mainstream artists, and I was just like, well, I even made, and it was all crap. Interesting talking you have. Hmm? Um, yeah, no, he was terrible, and the other thing is he was doing this class, right, and he just assumed that he was the convener of the class, and the convener, I think, is the person who decides what the course outline is going to be. He just assumed that he was. He didn't even check with admin or anything. So he gave out all these course outlines, said this is what we're doing this semester, and it turned out he actually wasn't the course convener, and someone else had written a course outline, and he was supposed to give us that, and we were supposed to do different set of assignments. But by the time we found that out, it was too late. We'd already started this other stuff, and so we just ended up doing the thing that he decided. Like it was a huge mess. He was so disorganized, and so many people dropped out of that class. Like even after census date is the cutoff for like payment. Like it's the government's paying, but it goes onto your record as debt. And people dropped out even after that. It was so bad. Like, one of the girls I was talking to, like he was very much pushing his ideas and not really understanding. The one thing I did that he liked was my noise art, which is on YouTube somewhere. And that one, I just got the shits, right? So I got these microphones that I made back in music school when I was doing a bit more study in audio. I got these microphones that I made. I stuck them into the little H4n that I'm using to do the sound for this video. And I just went around recording stuff as badly as possible. Like I made every mistake in the audio book. And then I put it together, I chopped it up into this sort of 5-minute thing and had 2 different devices playing it on 4 speakers and then not synced up at all and all this kind of stuff. And he actually thought that was pretty good. Although for all the talk he said about how amazing it was, he didn't give me the greatest marks. Like it was the best marks I got from him. But like after talking me up and all that, I was sort of expecting more. So he's just a bit of a dick with his like in every way. And very self-important. And the day that we were marking and he was sick, I was so happy because we got through everything a lot faster than we normally would have, and he didn't talk so much. Thank fuck. But yeah, the other times, and he didn't teach us anything. We spent like the first lesson looking at his artworks. The second lesson we went to the plaster room and played with plaster, which is the exact same activity I did 10 years before with him. Nothing had changed about that, and it was pointless. And then after that, it was mostly just working on our own assignments. We did have the option to go and look at 3D printing, but that was not taught by him. That was taught by some, the group that runs that. And the rest of the time, it's just like do the assignments, and he'd go around and talk to everyone about their project. And so you'd have to wait there for ages if he even got to you before the end of class. And I think I probably ended up not waiting for him half the time. I just run off and do my own thing because like, it's pointless. It's just consultations, and we didn't learn shit. Professor douche with a beard bullshit. He wasn't a professor, not this guy. He's just one of those sessional teachers, I guess. And the star of COFA is just like, you fucking moron. Like, how did you get these people? I don't know. The art community, they overlook a lot of bullshit that goes on. Like there's this one dude who gets talked up by a lot of the different teachers. Like different teachers, they show artwork, and almost all of them would show this artwork by this guy who makes sculptures that are covered in penises. Like he actually has a penis mold that he puts the clay in and just slaps it on all this artwork. And that is supposed to be like some amazing gay rights statement. I don't know, it's just like, and they're all heaps ugly, and he's talked up a lot. There's all this weird stuff that goes on at art school, and I'm just like, this is like kid stuff. Like, this might have been progressive in the 70s, but like at this point, you know, you're just doing the same old shit. It's just, oh. And then there was the lady who does these videos, and there's always these bright yellow things, and it's like got these colonial imagery and little Aboriginal figures. And I think she has gotten, like, she has talked to Aboriginal people and got someone to sign off on that. Um, but like all this bright yellow, and there are these animations, and then it turns out she doesn't even animate it herself. She has these animators help her do it, and she just directs it. And she gets talked up. And she came to one of the classes in my last semester to give a talk, and we thought it, like, we were told it was going to be about the art industry, but it was just her talking about her own work again, instead of teaching us the stuff that we were meant to learn in that class. And she said she failed the HSC, and said it in a way that she was proud of herself for that. And I'm like, we are at an academic institution, and you are advocating this crap. I was just like, it's fucking dumb. Why am I here? Anyway, banana duct tape to a wall. Yeah. Like, all you have to do for art is bullshit, really. Especially the master's degree, you don't really learn technique in as, like, there are some classes where you learn technique, but a lot of it's quite basic. Like, I did the color theory, like, yeah, it was a color theory course, and it turned out to just be the same basic stuff that I already knew. I thought it was like an advanced thing based on what the course description was, but no, it was the same basic stuff. What is the strangest thing about sex as you see it? I don't know. I guess that people are obsessed with it, because I just don't get that. But yeah, no, I thought this color course would be more advanced, but it's the same sort of like, here's how you mix colors, and I was just like, like using monochrome, and what a waste of time that was. But no, the best one in terms of learning technique was the jewelry course, because we actually learned how to do things, and you had to use fire and stuff, and so that one was all right. And if I had done that in my first semester, I might have majored in it, but I only came across it in maybe my second last semester, and it was too late to really get deep into it. But yeah, so how did I get onto this rant? Anyway, yeah, no, the sheep Nazi was terrible. Just an idiot. And that, like, I think if you do the undergrad, they do teach you more technique, because you actually have a major, whereas in the masters, you don't major in anything. You can just take what courses you want, and then there are a few prescribed courses, and yeah, it's sort of just like whatever you want to learn. And it's actually seen to some extent as being below the honors level, because the honors level guys all got an individual studio space, but we didn't. We had to fight for one. Is it difficult not to be what? I don't know which thing you're talking about. Yeah, anyway, no. So like that course did help me have something to do while I was depressed. But like, if I was going there to learn something, nah. And I think they were cutting that course anyway. I don't know. The constant university cuts. Oh dear. But so yeah, we're past 2 hours now. I didn't expect to be here so long. I think I should probably like wind up. Just like relax. And I haven't even checked on my Facebook notifications yet. Can learn more on YouTube in 10 minutes. Like, yeah, it depends on what it is. Like, so one of the courses I actually did a online course in graphic design, and got the shits when they wanted me to do like 20 different coffee logos. And like, for one thing, I hate coffee, but I also don't want to be told what to do, and the same thing over and over in different ways. I was just like, fuck it. But like, that helped with the structure, but you can learn that graphic design stuff from YouTube. And when I'm doing like my video editing, if I don't know how to do something, I just look up a tutorial. I don't need anyone to teach me that. Is it difficult to not be seen as sexy for people? I don't have any control over that. There are people who definitely think that I'm sexy, like, especially being a female. Like, guys are just like that. So I can't control what other people think about me. I just don't feel that about other people. Now, I don't like it when people are overt in that way to me. But most people who stay in my circles learn that very quickly and shut the fuck up. If they don't shut up, they just don't end up in my life, I guess. I get the shits with them and I get rid of them. So it's not something that I have control over, you know. You could be wearing you could be wearing a ski suit and someone would still find that attractive. Like there's all kinds of weird shit out there and people are into what they're into. You can't control other people and what they think. But you can tell them to shut the fuck up and if they don't, you get rid of them. You know, you can block them, you can you just disconnect. So, yeah. Um that is that question, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, I just sort of avoid the whole subject usually, but it comes up every now and then. There were some people who originally watched my channel because I did talk about asexuality, especially because back then it wasn't as widely known. Even now, it doesn't get a lot of publicity. Like it is part of, well, some people now consider it to be part of the whole LGBT alphabet. Although there are some LGBT people who say it shouldn't be part of it. And to some extent, I do agree because, like, you know, I mean, LGBT, it's a bit weird because you've got the lesbian, gay, bi kind of thing, but then trans is like, those are sexualities, but trans is a different thing. So it's a bit odd. And I guess on that basis, you could include asexuality. But there are some who argue that because you're not really in the relationship thing, like, does it fit into the whole thing? I don't know. There's all this like talk about it, and I don't care to engage in it, and I don't care to engage in the community. I don't call myself LGBT. Like I'll hang out with some of those groups, and like that open mic I go to is very LGBT, but they're mainly like a women's showcase slash non-binary. But lesbians versus trans, well, yeah, I've seen a lot of that too. I've actually got a friend who's on you know, engaged in that. Yeah. I don't know, like there's some tricky things, but also like people who are just blow things out of proportion. And I just don't care to be a part of it really. Like, I mean, what does contributing my opinion do anyway? And I don't want to be like, you know, after what happened in the asexuality group with the trans activists piling on, I was just like, I don't need this shit in my life. And also, thanks a fucking lot to the asexual community for, you know, standing up for, you know, cancelled. I just, you know, there's some people who blow things out of proportion. The unfortunate thing, though, is it's always the noisy people that get the most publicity. I think the vast majority of people are a bit more sensible than that, but because the noisy people are so noisy, there's this illusion that it's bigger than it actually is. Particularly in Australia. In Australia, like if you're on the internet all the time, you think, oh my God, this is a huge problem. But then you go out into the Australian environment and we're much more laid back. We don't have a lot of that going on. So yeah, it's not as much of an issue. Like I've never had like LGBT, that open mic I go to, I've never felt like there was any of that tension. So I mean, maybe I'm just not around when it happens, but I've never felt that. People are nice. People sort of understand if you don't quite get it. There was something that happened in Newtown where there was like a big hoo-ha, and I was following that on Facebook, and it was just ridiculous on all sides. But generally, I feel like Australian culture is much more in the middle ground. But hey, there are things that go on that I'm a bit like, oh my God, are we doing this as well? So maybe we're just slow to catch up. I don't know. That is not to take control of the narrative, which is not shared by most. Yeah. Yeah, and that plays out, I guess, when Australians vote, because we have compulsory voting. So even if there's been all this talk in the media, once we actually vote, it doesn't always go how the media expects, and that's because the quiet people have finally contributed their opinion. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. Anyway, yeah, I'm fading fast now. I can feel my head going, why are you still doing this? You need to start getting ready for bed. So I'm going to go. But thanks everyone for coming. I'm sorry I didn't schedule this. I'll try and be better about it for next week. Yeah, I'm just catching up with my life at the moment, and I really need to. I think I've just about caught up with everything, so I can hopefully do some more solid work on this music video. I did render a section that I needed to do, so at least I got that done, but, yeah, there's still so much work, and then I need to abandon string! What? Alright, I'm going. I'm losing the plot. What plot? I don't know what plot, but I'm sure I had one at some point in my life. Now it's gone, and I'm gonna go to bed before I hurt myself.